Now we're going to put the zip in. We're going to put the zip on the left hand side like mine here, as you can see. You can't see it when it's done. And we're going to put the zip in first and then close that side seam. So the first thing to do is to measure down the length of the zip. That's 16 centimeters. And you want to mark it on your actual fabric piece, right? And also make sure that you have the zip opening on the left hand side of your body, so the center of the front needs to go further away from you if you're placing it in front of you like I do. 16 centimeters down. So I've marked it now on both sides. Now the other thing is that zips tend to be a little bit longer than you actually need. You only need a centimeter more and maybe a little bit more to put a hook and eye, and I've done that with mine. And as you can see here, even if I put a hook and eye in, it's gonna be like too long. Not massively, but a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do is trim that. In the ebook, I've just drawn it on, but I think we can just trim it now, as long as we do it evenly both sides, so that I've got a, there we go, so that I've got a centimeter and a little bit more left for my zip, because otherwise the zip's going to be too long. Now we've marked the opening here. We also want to mark the zipper. So what I've done here is I've simply went down like this, look, and then I marked it across where it needs to go, and that will guarantee that when I put them in, one will not be slightly longer or shorter, creating a little pleat in the bottom. That's not what we want. So now we know exactly where our zip's going to go. Put a pin there so you can't get this wrong. Your teeth are showing up, and you put this side on. Now we're going to pin on the zip, and I start at the very top, and then I line up my markings here and I pin it all in. It really isn't hard. It's just important that you have marked your zip and that you've marked your fabric, so that you don't end up with an unsightly pleat at the lower end of the zip. It happens really easily. So now we can also pin the other side, and to get this right and to not twist it is we just flip our zip under like that, and then we move over the front, yeah, just flip it over, and I'm just going to put a pin in here, of course just the one, because we are going to pin it from the other side, but that way I know, aha, this goes together, this is going to be perfect. So now my zip's on nicely. I can now open up the zip all the way, and then I can pin the other side. So I want to flip this all around so it lies in front of me like this. And then I can line up my markings down here. Sure they're on top of each other. And I'm going to pin it close to the edge. That'll give me exactly that seam allowance of 1 centimeter. Brilliant. Now I'll do up my zip again just to check that I've put the right sides together and nothing is twisted, because we do want to check that. I'm sure somebody might have done that before. There we go. That all looks very nice. Now we can start sewing it in. You can use either the standard foot that comes with your sewing machine, or you can use one of these lovely concealed zipper feet. I don't recommend that you get them from China. I've done that before. It was only $4. I thought, oh, what a bargain. But by the time I'd waited 3 weeks for it and it came, it was so bad I had to throw it out. So buy an original foot that is good for your machine. To make it easier for you to get both methods or using both feet, I'm gonna put one side in with this zipper foot here, and this one is just a standard foot that came with the machine. I'll do the other side like that, so that you can see both of them. So the first thing now is, regardless whether you have this one or that one, is we're going to put a hauling stitch in, and we need the standard zipper foot for that. So I'm going to take mine off, and I'm going to put on my zipper foot. Now, one of the things that the Pfaff machine does really well, whether it's the mechanical one or the electronic one, this is my mechanical one, which I love a lot more. It's cheaper, but boy, this is so nice. I love this machine. So what you can do is you can move over your needle to the position on all the way to the left. And you've got tiny little increments in between, which not all sewing machines do. And I want to go all the way over to the left to do that. In fact, it should go over one more bit, and it doesn't. It's not exactly on the edge, it's slightly off, which means that when you put it on, you might actually end up with a tiny little bit too much to be seen on your zip, so it might show a little bit of the zip. On my electronic machine, I can go all the way to the edge, and I actually have to do a step back to get it into the right position. But this is just to put a holding stitch on, so let's do that first. We're going to open up the zip, and then we're going to put both sides in just along the edge here so that it can't go anywhere. And if you look at trousers that are done in industry, you will notice that they all have that on there. Nobody puts that zip in straight away with this thing. Nobody does it. And there's a reason for it, because it will shimmy and shift. Now we're going to put that holding stitch in just on the edge there. So open up your zip. It's time to start sewing it in. So put it under, and then we're just going to sew along the edge about 2 or 3 millimeters in. You want to now put your zipper under, and I'm going to use the bit that I've just sewn that goes back up. I'm going to move out the teeth, and I'm going to place this under my sewing machine here. And because my needle doesn't go all the way to the side, I make sure that I'm actually really forcing the edge here into that groove that I've got. And we're going to sew this side in like that, and then the next one we're going to do with the zipper foot. And now for the other side, I'm going to move my zipper foot in. We're going to use the faff zipper foot, and all I have to do here is move it back to the center. Oops, need to get my DT and put my zipper foot on. And now I can work with this on the other side, and then we can compare them. Here you want to have that point right going into the groove. Now we can actually see what it looks like. Let's move that over a bit, and the way to do that is to just do up your zip, and that will give you a good idea. Whoops, the zip does it right, whatever you do. There we go. I do up my zip, and I will have a good look from this outside here and see what it looks like. And I think that's pretty close. I think it doesn't make much of a difference. I think the one with the zipper foot obviously is a little bit closer, but you can see how lovely that looks, and actually it matches, and that's total coincidence. I did not try for this at all. All I did was make sure that they were in line with each other when I was cutting out. So I have the hem at the same level when I started, which is obvious when you put the pattern pieces next to each other, but it's still really cool. I like it. I'm very quickly sewing over the end of my zip here so that I can just cut it off now. When you cut off the zip which goes through the teeth, you might want to use a paper scissor so that you don't ruin your fabric scissor, and then we can finish off that end later, and that can go in the bin so we don't have so much in the way. Now we're going to put our side seams flat on top of each other, and then we're going to pin them all the way up. That's it. Almost done with the hard stuff. Now I've changed over my foot to the standard foot, and I'm going to sew up to this point here, and then I'm going to put my zipper foot back on. Now we're going to close it with a centimeter seam allowance. Now we put our standard zipper foot on again, and we move the needle over all the way to the point where it can't go any further. Now we're going to go from that point all the way up to where we've inserted the zip. We're going to go a tiny little bit higher, and we're going to sew exactly next to it. So secure your stitches again, and we're going up. Now we're going to have a little look at this. So you can see here that I've sewed right next to it. The closer you get, the better, but it really doesn't matter too much, as you see in a minute. And I've turned it over so we can see if it actually worked. And as you can see here by the close-up, it is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it at all, and it looks really great. All we have to do now is to iron the seam apart. Just going to move this over, and I'm just going to iron this into really nice. There we go. Lovely. Now we're also pressing it from the upper side of the fabric a bit. Lovely. Actually, that looks so cool. That is a perfectly inserted zip. Just look at that, people. It is really nice. So now that we've inserted our zip and we've pressed the seam, we can go on to the next chapter in which we're gonna do all the other seams. So see you there.